Welcome to another very special episode and first of our October Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Kicking off with an exclusive one here on Detection Engineering Dispatch with Richard Stiennon.
Correction, Richard Stiennon.
I am Alex, hosting all of your detection engineering content and bringing the very latest in what's happening in the DE space. So if you enjoy our content and you want to stay in the loop with it live, you can join us here on Zoom bi-weekly, or you can catch the replays on our YouTube channel and now all of the major podcast stream channels. Now, today's topic is quite frankly one of the hottest cybersecurity dilemmas that organizations and security leaders often face as they're either approaching renewals or as they're kind of thinking about what they're going to do in the next year or even 2 years. And I'm going to go all in on this security dilemma with none other than Richard himself, the author of the Security Yearbook. So, Richard, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're so happy to have you here on Dispatch.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, so we're going to kick off the first episode of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but with Richard. And so maybe you can tell us a little bit about you and what you've been up to, what you're working on, and how you got into the industry.
Sure. Thanks, Alex. So I'm a industry analyst deep down. I figured out after I left Gartner that that's pretty much all I'm cut out for. So started IT Harvest 18 years ago to just be a place where I can do what I love to do, which is public speaking, writing, and doing research and talking to people every day.
You're really good at it.
Thank you. But along the way, I named the company Harvest because I wanted to recreate something that Gartner used to have called DataQuest. And I made several stabs at it, including publishing a directory in the back of the Security Yearbook every year. So there's one place that you can go to look at what happened that year, plus all the vendors that exist and how much they grew, what categories they're in. Super, super useful resource. But 2.5 years ago, we turned that into an app, as one does. And all of a sudden that put me in a founder role once again. Oh. It's really had been many years since I'd founded a company, but I have founded 24 in my career. So I'm kind of an addict to whatever that is, the risk levels or something. But this one's fun because it's just a direct line of descent from all the work I do. And the IT Harvest dashboard is a platform for researching 4,066 cybersecurity vendors, and most recently, all of their products. So for the first time in my career, I have a product that the end users are interested in. So, normally I deal with marketing teams at vendors and things like that, but now I'm dealing with security architects and CISO teams and the people who report to them, because we have a better solution for finding and choosing products than Gartner or Forrester or Omdia has. So that's a long way to come from my roots, where I was a aerospace engineer working in automotive engineering when I was designing car seats. So if you ever drove an old Saturn, you can blame me for the car seats. They're extremely comfortable because I designed them for me. So they're, while I was doing the engineering stuff, I discovered the internet, 3 months, for the record, 3 months before Bill Gates did. And I started an ISP, and that got me into the networking side. And then I joined a early MSSP called Netrex, and that got me into security. And from there it was PwC and Gartner, and here I am today.
Wow, that is so insane. What a trajectory. It makes a lot of sense, and it probably keeps you so incredibly busy because the cybersecurity industry has the most vendors in the space. And I just can't imagining researching everything, and there's all this confusing messaging out there, and it's hard to do your due diligence on it if it's all over the place and with all these buzzwords in the mix. So if you just cut through the BS and just give them a space for them to actually understand what they even do, that's going to save so many people a lot of time.
That is such a good point, because the hardest task I have, so we've got several interns who are constantly looking for new companies, and they scour all the conference sites for new emerging companies. They pass them to me, and then I determine what category they're in and what subcategory, which no other site does, right? PitchBook doesn't do that. Crunchbase doesn't do that. TrackXN, any of those guys, they can't do that. None of my people can do that. I've tried to outsource it many times. OpenAI can't do it today. I think by end of November, it will be able to. And I have spent 4,000 hours staring at websites trying to figure out what the heck they're talking about, right? And I'm forever grateful that I started researching threat intelligence before Gartner came along and rebranded it as digital risk protection, which is my least favorite three-letter acronym ever, DERP. It just doesn't make any sense, right? Why would you label something digital when we live in a digital world, right? There is no analog something security, right?
Yeah.
And then risk, nobody can define what that is. And why would you protect risk? Grammatically, it doesn't make sense. There shouldn't be any risk protection products because you don't want risk. You want risk mediation or risk destruction products. So anyways, so I knew all the threat intelligence vendors, but if you were Googling threat intelligence today, you would only find a bunch of European threat intelligence companies because all of the Gartner fanboys have change their name to DRP, and it's like, I tell them this is nuts. People are not Googling DRP. They're Googling threat intelligence. They're not going to find you. So that's the hardest part of my task and the most value that we immediately bring to the table is you can quickly look at all the API security vendors because I've figured out that what they do. Or you can look at the eBPF vendors, right? The vendors that use that don't say that anywhere on their website. You have to talk to them to figure out that they're using eBPF or look for other, signs that they're doing it because it's a cheat. It's a really great tool, but it's kind of a cheat because it's really easy to do.
Well, it sounds like you're cracking the cheat codes.
I'm trying to.
So you've seen the cybersecurity landscape evolve over the decades. You've seen vendors join the market, come and go, and I've noticed you've been very critical of the idea that a single cybersecurity platform can effectively address all security needs. And there's this trend kind of going in that direction. Now, why do you think like the allure of going in this way with kind of putting all your eggs in one basket is so strong?
Yeah, it's because of that experience, right? I've watched network associates become McAfee. I watched Symantec, acquire, some weird companies. They each are acquiring hundreds of companies and each making the claim that they're going to be a one-stop shop for cybersecurity. They're going to own the space. That's what they're striving for and bragging to each other that they were doing. And it was always just wrong. It was wrong then, and it's wrong now for anybody to do that. Now, I like the way you position what the current meme around platforms are, because it is that all-encompassing, we're just going to give you sit at one terminal and you can see everything for your identity, your endpoints, your network, your data security, your GRC, everything's going to be right there. And you just keep buying more modules from the same vendor, which is the point. From their point, that's what they're trying to do. And of course, we all know what happens when you select when you single source a vendor, the prices go up. You're not going to be able to stop that from happening. And you're tied in, right? So now if a new, I don't know what, a new encryption algorithm comes out, you won't be able to pull it out and replace it like you could if you're just using, Entrust or something. You got to pull everything out and then find new solutions to backfill for everything else. It's tying everything together. That is not a good security strategy. Goes against the concept, the original concept of defense in depth. When I was at Gartner, we covered the antivirus vendors, and in the US here, there was basically McAfee, Symantec, and Trent. And in order to have a defense in depth architecture, you would have somebody, McAfee, on the endpoint, on the desktop. You would have Symantec on the server, and you'd have Trend on the network for email security, or any mix of those three, because they all had products. But you would never buy from the same vendor for all three layers, because then you won't take advantage of the better vulnerability catching or virus catching that one has over the other that day. So you get the benefits of being protected by all three working for you. If you do that, if you buy everything from Palo Alto Networks or Cisco, who also attempts to do this, or what none of those guys mention is that Fortinet is only one that has all the products, right? So Palo Alto, when they talk about platformization, it's, yeah, we got 6 products, so we're going to shove them all together and you're going to buy them all from us. Fortinet's got 139 products. They got one for
Yeah,
everything, for your phone, for your
that's
cameras,
right.
everything. If
Or
you
to
wanted a single
soar.
source, there's only one source, and that's Fortinet. I'm sorry. And a great example, because you go, well, Fortinet's phone isn't what I want because I need this other thing from a real phone company, or Fortinet's cameras, CCTV cameras, aren't what I want because I want to buy this other one. So it just plays out right away. You're not going to buy everything from Fortinet, just like you're not going to buy everything from Palo Alto. Palo Alto will change their tune, right? Because
Mhm.
they'll go buy a best of breed something, and then they'll start tooting that you got to buy a best of breed. Don't buy Cisco just because they're Cisco. It's just a big merry-go-round. It's kind of makes being an industry analyst easy because things just stay the same, or they come back with a new name associated with them, like passwordless. That's pretty hot right now. That's client-side certificates. We saw those 24 years ago. It was a
Yeah.
good idea then, great idea now. It's just easier to do now.
I can understand like the allure. Like if I put the hat of one of my girlfriends, I was trying to talk about this topic to her the other day, and she's in the vendor management side, and she was like, "Alec, that is so great. Like, can you imagine? Like, it's just one procurement contract, one literally thing to keep up with, to maintain, to resign. Like, why not do it? But it's like you hit it, like you hit the nail. Like, why should we sacrifice security in the name of convenience?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you should.
is there other gotchas
Yeah,
there?
if procurement is part of your cybersecurity strategy process on selecting tools, you are in deep, deep trouble, right? They are going to mess
Yeah.
everything up. It was procurement and CIOs of the day that got us in this trouble in the first place, when they thought, wouldn't it be awesome if we just bought all of our operating systems from Microsoft? So we could have servers running NT and desktops running Windows, and I guess our phones running Microsoft as well, all running the same operating system, so that a single worm can take down the entire world. And that happens over and over and over. It's still happening today. We haven't gotten out of that. And it's the short-sightedness of the CIOs who made that choice. We're a single operating system company. That's stupid. And luckily, the market actually won here, because Linux is the server operating system of choice. That's what the entire cloud is using, right?
Yeah,
Uh, so
it
we do
is.
have a little segmentation and separation of church and state. So
Mhm.
it'd be much, much worse if Microsoft had won that battle.
Yeah. So do you think is it more like of a marketing hype than actual efficacy? Because it's still
Yep.
kind of in the early stages. Like you don't see too many people going all in. I mean, there's a few big logos out there, but we're still in the beginnings of, are they either one or the other? Are you it's almost like a political battle. Like, are you either
Yeah, it is.
Democratic or are you either
that's
Republican? Like
that's right.
best of breed or platformization.
Right, right, right. Yeah, and it is. And often I'll tell people that, look at, if it fits your marketing messaging and your customers are responding positively, fantastic. But do not, if you're the CEO, do not listen to your marketing team. They're
Yeah.
going to say all sorts of crazy crap. And if you say, oh my God, this is great, but wait a minute, we're going to have to offer deep discounts on those other products, so we might be under our forecast. You don't go tell Wall Street that you're moving to a new strategy that is going to hit your earnings. Don't do that, right? Palo Alto lost a quarter of their market cap by doing that
Mm.
single mistake. Now they've made it back, right? Because they actually didn't take a hit to the bottom line or the top line. They should have realized that that wasn't going to happen, right? We're coming out of the tech
I
recession right
saw
now.
that article you wrote.
Yeah. You should see my Substack subscribers. I wrote that article and it just,
And it just went up.
yeah.
What a choice they made this whole year. I mean, they weren't a part of RSA. They
Bad,
had this
bad
whole
mistake.
there
Yeah.
was a whole show in the front of it with Keanu. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets any analyst gets their fighting spirit aroused when a large vendor tries to dictate the market. I tried to say, you know what? And McAfee did this for so long under David DeWalt. It's like, hey, this is our market. We're going to tell you where it's going and what's happening in it. And they're always wrong. Always, always, always wrong. Every single one of them will. Next, we'll hear Palo Alto saying, we're going to move to the SMB because that's where the real market is, right? And then we're going to take over the SMB. And they're not, right? SMB you can't support a salesperson who's making $500,000 selling, $10,000 solutions to the SMB. Not going to work. They're
It's
not
going to
going
be
to do
very
it.
expensive for them, but it may be the route they're going because of. So I came from IBM Q Radar, and I'm
Uh-huh.
truly still mourning the what happened with Palo. And most of, I would say, a majority of the Q Radar customers were in the SMB space. I mean, there was tons of large logos, but most of them were in the SMB space, and now they're going to be migrated over, I guess, to XIM, and I don't know if they're going to be able to pay that price.
Oh, yeah, I don't think they will. And I'd be very worried about a semantic like step after Broadcom bought them, which is just take the top 2,000 customers and everybody else can go pound earth, I think we say.
Yeah. Now another thing, last thing I'll say on best of breed. I mean, sacrificing. You're not just sacrificing vendor. I mean, your freedom, like vendor lock, and like you mentioned. But I think, would you say it's like less of a focus on security once you have to deal with all of these individual stacks and not just focus on what you do best? I mean, now you have
Yeah,
to worry about
huge point.
pipeline and all of this supported integrations, and not like what actually matters, which is
Right.
threat detection of each individual stack, right? And it's like the Swiss Army knife, right? Like,
That's right.
are you gonna pull the screwdriver
Yeah.
from your Swiss Army knife? No, it's gonna be
No, only in
that's
an
gonna be the
emergency.
worst
Yeah.
screwdriver you ever used in your
Right.
life.
Right.
Like,
Or corkscrew for that matter. No way. And the other thing is the people expertise, right? You're going to give, a one console for somebody to manage, endpoints and network and data security and identities. You're still going to have one console per each specialist. Why can't they just use the best tool? So the identity person is still going to have a job and sit in front of a console that lets them do their things. And why disrupt them? Why tear them away from something they grew up on, right? And now you're going to make them use something else. It's and purchasing doesn't think about that ever, right? They're just going to go, nope, we just made our job easier. One throat to choke. Yeah, our job got easier. And purchasing
yeah.
people should be being laid off because you don't have as many vendors anymore if you go that way.
I was gonna say, so do you think that there's any like hidden cost or gotchas to put all your trust into something like that? When you said unified consoles, I think one of the gotchas is like, I don't think it's ever as integrated as you think.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Like,
thing. Yeah.
yeah.
I have had several vendors reach out that have convinced me that they have integrated. Trend Micro's one of them.
Mhm.
But you also have to think, okay, if they're not integrated, a vulnerability in one system doesn't impact anything else. It's just the people who deployed that one system. If they were integrated, a vulnerability could literally spread across your entire security infrastructure and you'd be in real, real trouble. Remember, so when Juniper bought NetScreen, which ultimately led to the formation of Palo Alto when Yerzuk got tired
Mhm.
of NetScreen and he moved on. They went on a 5-year operation to have the NetScreen hardware appliance use the same operating system as the Juniper switches and routers, June OS. Took them 5 years, and in that time, their firewall sales went from 500 million a year to 100 million a year. So they lost all the value in that
Oh,
acquisition, which they
wow.
paid $5.5 billion for, with some silly idea that integration was important, which is nuts.
It well, it's I saw it as well in with from the IBM world. I mean, that was just a collection of like 10 years worth of acquisitions,
Yep.
and it just takes so much work and
Yeah.
resources and dev to build these supported acquisitions. And they're like, oh well, you guys should be working together because you guys are IBM, and it's just to build even just that like GUI that makes it look like that.
Oh, so hard.
It,
Cisco's
it's
been
so
working
hard
on
to
a
do.
GUI for their products for 24 years and hasn't done it, right? Because command line interface is what its users like. And by the way, remember the first security company I worked for? It was called Netrex. It was acquired by ISS, which
Uh-huh.
was acquired by IBM, and original core of their managed security services.
Wait,
Yeah.
XGS, that one?
Yeah, I think that's what they call it. Yeah.
Oh,
So it is, they still have a SOC here in Southfield, Michigan. It's cool.
yeah. Wow. Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense. I feel like at one point it was like they were just trying to like mush acquisitions and integrate them. And it was like, it's kind of like now trying to combine my dishwasher and washing machine and
That's
just,
right.
if it wasn't like originally designed like that at the
Yep.
beginning, it's going to be a whole lot of clunk.
Yep. Exactly. We used to have the metaphor for these concepts of everything in one place is, all in one. And we used to have boom boxes that would do amazing things, right? They'd play tapes, they'd have radio, they'd have, CD players eventually, and all these things. And there used to be very silly things that people would carry around that would have all these integrations, right? And obviously that doesn't work, right? The tech enthusiasts, the audiophiles want the best that they can get, the best speaker. They want components, right? So we are in, we're in that phase right now where, I don't know, everybody except the actual security operators kind of are enamored with the idea of just buying from one vendor, great. One that's nobody criticizes you for buying from Palo Alto. They're the biggest cybersecurity vendor right there. And it's just so appealing. There's all these supposed advantages appealing to the business people, not to the security people, because there's no security reason to do that. There is an argument for, in the realm of detection engineering, the more data you have, the better, right? You got to have all the data, and then we'll apply AI, and we'll magically know when something's happening, and we'll be able to fix it because we got all the controls, under our control, and that. Still playing out. We're seeing, I think the ones I talk to, the ReliQuests of the world are, just they'll take all comers, right? We'll integrate with anybody. QRadar, Splunk, we'll just take data from everywhere. And I think it's got to be the way it is, because you could be an expert at managing data, but not an expert at AI. Right. And by the way, there is no security company that is expert at AI.
At AI, yeah.
Right. There's a couple that claim to be, that even have these origin stories that involve Cambridge professors without any Cambridge professors, that work for them, or names or patents or articles written by, it's just, it's been hype for a long time, and the hype just expanded. Now, mind you, there are startups where there are AI experts, and those are amazing ones that I'm keeping an eye on.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't help but think of, I forgot, he made a response to your post, to your article, and he was saying like, well, Palo's going all in on training their AI with all of their customers, and it's going to be like the most trained AI cybersecurity or AI model for cybersecurity with so much data from so many customers. Like they're going all in on training these models. Who was it? Was it Tyler Shields?
Could have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember that particular one, but yeah. First of all, it costs $100 million to build your first model, right? That's just table stakes. Let's see, Microsoft's building just a data center for $500 million to build their first model, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it'll be OpenAI's or not. I don't know. So super, super expensive. Just go to NVIDIA and put in your order now for 15,000 cards, right? At $30,000 a piece, and then wait 6 months or a year and a half. It's going to take forever to get there. So nobody's got that at all. And the other thing is, log data isn't like the data that modern LLMs have created, right? Which is based on coherent sentences tied together. Every single log is rather random, and it's just structured data, right? Which you can do Bayesian filtering on it, and there's lots of things you can do and call it AI or machine learning, but it shouldn't incorporate or get any of the glow that's around the LLMs that are occurring now.
Yeah, it's certainly they're playing up into the hype for sure. Now, do you think that there's like this twofold, like, buyers, they're very enamored by this idea. It's easy, it's one throat. But do you think like from the practitioner side, do you think that they have the same sentiment? Like I would say that there's a divide. I mean, at the end of the day, they're just going to get what they're going to use what they use because they may not have as much buying decision power.
Yep.
But I think that they would be more towards the best of breed. They want to work with what works.
Have you ever met a firewall person and then introduced them to a vulnerability person? They are not the same types of people. I'm sorry.
In
they
my
segregate
experience,
themselves.
net ops and SecOps were never the same person.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
they're not going to be, that's one of the reasons I remember telling Symantec that they'll never succeed in network security because they built a brand around their desktop product. And every single network engineer whose only focus is on low latency and throughput, right? That's
Hmm.
all they worry about, even if they're
Yeah.
security people.
Uptime, downtime. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. You
Yeah.
come to them with a product that's labeled yellow and it's got Symantec's name all over it, the thing that slows down their own workstation every day,
Yeah.
they're just going to go, no,
An
no, get out of
agent they
here.
have to worry about deploying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. And
Yeah.
therefore, you'll always have these division of labor.
Hmm.
Try this sometime. Go to, large organization and say, that's got a union on the shop floor and, professionals at all levels and say, you know what, we're all going to have one contract now and no choice, no differentiation. We don't care. It's just, this is your contract, period. And, it just wouldn't go over well.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be long-term like consequences for those that do hop on to this trend?
Yeah, because they are just going to continue to spend money unwisely, right? There's a lot of things you need to spend money on right now to avoid
Mhm.
the horrible things that could happen. But if you spend a lot of money on a Palo Alto, you are going to reverse that, then, or your replacement is going to reverse that, right? Because that's how it works. You're the Palo Alto guy, and you're going to quit, and Palo Alto will find you another job somewhere to switch over to being a friend and families. And the new person is going to say, "We're going to get rid of all this crap because I'm the new person." It's just the cycle, and that's just a waste of time and effort. It squanders your people resources because you're spending it on the wrong things. So I think that'll be the worst outcome. Well, yeah, the worst outcome, and then there'll be the lack of security, right? Because you're thinking more about your process, your internal process, than you are about your defenses.
Yeah. And I think too, I think that once you're stuck into it, you're going to see all around you all these innovations and all of these new releases that are able to be kind of out the door faster,
Right.
whereas they're not going to innovate as fast.
That's for sure.
Yeah, because they
They,
have to make choices.
Palo Alto's the closest to a true security company that can innovate.
That's true. They innovate pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah. So, which is finally, they're the first, as near as I can tell. And maybe that's because they're near Zook is still pulling a lot of the strings on the technology side. So, and that's the key to a company, making it that far is if the founders are still there. And it's
Mm.
true at Fortinet, innovates constantly. Zscaler, founder's still there. Checkpoint just lost their founder, right? So Gil Shwed retired, replaced him with a venture capitalist.
Oh,
So guess what's going to happen at Check? They're going to
oh,
get into the buying and selling game and not the innovating.
I see. And they had just gone in all in on their XDR.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Six years after everybody else.
Yeah. Right?
Yep.
Now, looking ahead, then, would you say that there's for those that did catch on to the trend, do you see them taking like a shift back towards the best of breed solutions, like having
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
buyer's remorse, like the one I have from the Paris shoes I bought in Paris?
Yeah, yeah. It's not happening yet. And don't regret that. Come on, you went to Paris.
True.
Um, it's not happening yet. It will, though. It's just as plain as all of history. It definitely will.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. The entire industry is going to be disrupted by AI. And it's not this silly stuff that Palo Alto is talking about, right? It's the automation of security operations. And that is, it's early days, right? It's in the works. But you could build a model today using latest model, Cloud 3.5, Sonnet, or even Opus if you could afford it. And it might not quite work yet, then get great results. But all you got to do is plug in the next version, which is going to be 10 times as powerful, and all of a sudden it works. It's going to be phenomenal. It's just, it'll just disrupt everything in this space. So if you're heading up Palo Alto and trying to plan for the future, I would lay my bet that you cannot be the one that creates that innovation. You can't do that, but there will be, there's probably 50 entrepreneurs that I've identified that are doing it, and one of them will, or five of them will, and you'll have your pick, and Palo Alto will buy them.
Absolutely. I think all in all, if you're perpetually stuck between, yeah, sure, wanting fewer tools, I think the more important view is to see like, what kind of specialized solution or requirement do you need to fulfill, and can this all-in-one vendor fulfill that? And if they can, that's great. But if they can't, like, you should
Yep.
look into it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's the
Yeah.
kind of the whole point of the platform I'm building is I think you should know all the solutions that can answer your problems before you start, weeding them down, right? You might,
Hmm.
it's easy to say, okay, nobody from China because we don't buy from China, or Russia because we're not allowed to buy from Russia. And then you say, well, they also have to integrate with Jira. So now you got, 100, there are 208 SIM solutions out there, and, how do you pick the right fit for you other than, your peers will tell you, well, Splunk is good, but expensive. So, go
Yeah.
with, one of these other ones out here, but there are a lot of cool startups in that space. So, yeah, ArcSight's
Yeah.
still out there,
Well, didn't they merge? Oh wait, no. That
I think
wasn't them,
they,
was.
I don't know, or no, they're still at a big conglomerate, and
Ah, I see.
it could
I
be,
thought logarithm
they've,
merged. Logarithm merged, no?
it was somebody, right?
With Exaby, maybe. No, I
No,
might
that
be.
I think that might be it. I think that was it. Yeah.
Well, all
So
in all, vendors, if a vendor claims to try to simplify your stack, they're likely selling you another layer of complexity.
yep.
I'll end with Jeanette. These are Jeanette's favorite questions we always like to ask our guest. Richard, what do you love the most about the security community since you've seen it evolve for decades?
Um, yeah,
Or do you hate it?
no, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I love the marketing people in the
Mm,
security space. They all have such great attitudes and they get poorly treated on acquisition, right? They're like out the door. It's like, okay, we had just acquired you. You guys are fired because we have our own marketing. I hate that.
yeah.
And it seems unfair.